Good morning, everyone. Another beautiful Saturday day today. Fantastic weather for a pavlova, I think, which is of course what I'm making with you all today. So I can see some of you coming in now. Good morning, let me say some hellos. Morning Dodge, morning Paul. We're making pavlova. So I promised you last week, didn't I? We did a poll. I know I've got all the hearts coming up. Well, thank God the weather is out like it is. So yeah, let me say some hellos here. Hi to Hezzy, hi Helen, hi Gaz. Thank you everybody. Hi Paul. Lovely to see you all. Something sweet. It's obviously a treat, but actually the pavlova is probably one of the healthiest puddings out there if you know how to make it in a more nutritious, healthy, lighter manner. Plus, I'm doing it 2 ways this morning because I know there's a lot of vegans out there or people who just want to avoid eggs for various reasons. Maybe you have an intolerance to eggs. I've got the option of the chickpea water known as Aquafaba, which I love that name, Aquafaba. So I've got an Aquafaba pavlova and I've got the standard pavlova. And then we're going to just do a fabulous like Greek-inspired topping on it. Okay, without further ado, you all coming in, welcome, hello, and thanks for all the waves. We're going to start with the Aquafaba. So, chickpeas, just your bog standard tin of chickpeas for this. We're not going to use the chickpeas. We're going to use the water the chickpeas comes in, the Aquafaba. Bowl, sieve, drain. We'll get rid of the chickpeas. You can make my fabulous beetroot hummus with that, okay, later on, okay, be perfect. And this genuinely is what's going to create the pavlova, the meringue of the pavlova. We need half of this for this recipe. I think you get, I've measured out 7 tablespoons of it. I think it's around about 120, so about 60 grams or 60 mils if you're weighing. And we're going to put it straight into a big mixing dish. So let me just measure out 7 of these. That's 2. So it is half. The other half, obviously, you can either double up and obviously make double the amount, or you can freeze it if you like. Okay, now I'm using my technical assistant today because the one thing about this is it requires a little bit more whisking than the other. So that's going to go now, thank you Lainey, that's going to go now and be whisked for 10 minutes. Now, if you have a stand mixer, may I recommend, or a food processor, may I recommend you put your whisk attachment on and use that because it does take a lot longer than eggs. Otherwise, as I'm going to do now with the egg version, a standard whisk, either straight forward, can you just about hear that in the background? Hopefully not, or an electric one. Right, so while the Aquafaba is whisking, we are going to get on with the standard pavlova meringue now. So again, sort of mixing bowl size bowl there. The egg version has 3 egg whites in mind, so 3 egg whites. I say large egg whites, so obviously if you've got tiny little ones, maybe go for 4. Let me pour them in. For those of you, and I know for most of you, breaking an egg is breaking an egg, but for those of you who are interested, there's all these fiddly gadgets out there to break an egg. Just break the egg in half, and then gently, and do it gently, just kind of tip the egg yolk from one side of the shell to the other, and the white will naturally spill in there. If you ever get any eggshell in, I haven't, but if you get eggshell, the best way of getting the eggshell out is to use part of the egg. It sticks to it, it's brilliant. I haven't got any in there at the moment, but if you just tip that in, it'll stick to it, so it's a top tip. Don't throw it away and start again. Similarly, if you get a bit of egg yolk in, again, go in with this, it sticks to it, take your egg yolk out rather than waste all the egg. Right, brilliant. Now, this takes a lot less time than the other one. So, whisks at the ready, a little bit noisy for about a minute, whilst I just whisked up those egg whites. And we want them to be really, really whisked. So, don't take kind of cut corners at this stage. You really want to have a very, very solid, I'm going to show you mine in a minute, but super thick egg white. This is the most important phase really. So already mine is literally coming together. top tip here, the fresher your eggs, the quicker they'll whip up. Mine are chickens from here at the farm, so mine is literally whipped up now. Might take some of you a bit longer if your eggs are a little bit older. But what we need to do is get it so it's holding really thick heat before we can add the sugar. And that's how we get these lovely, light, airy Pavlova meringues. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with mine. I'm going to show you mine. Keep going if you're cooking with me now. Keep going if you're not happy. Like I say, it is down to your whisk and it is down to how fresh your eggs are. Okay. I'm tipping it upside down. That's what they all do, isn't it, on these fancy programs? This is what you want, okay? Really, really thick egg whites, okay? There's nothing happening there. You can tip the bowl upside down, nothing happens. Now, to this now, we add the sugar. Now, I do not cook a lot with sugar. You know I'm always giving you alternatives, and we're using them for the toppings, like honey, maple syrup. You can't really substitute sugar for this. If you really, really, really do not like using sugar, you could use stevia or one of the natural sugar replacements. But remember, stevia, etc., is much, much, much sweeter than sugar. And we need the sugar for the structure of the meringue. So you are going to end up with more of a honeycomb finish than you are that lovely sort of chewy in the middle and crisp on the outside. So just bear that in mind. What I have done is reduce quite significantly the amount of sugar I use. I'm going to use 100 grams in this. You can get away with a minimum of 2 tablespoons. So that's your tablespoon measure at the top. So you can, if you really, 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 really want to, you can get away with 2 tablespoons. You will end up, thank you, you will end up with a little bit more of a honeycomb finish. Some people prefer that. And if you're doing something like eat and mess, actually that's probably better. I'm going to stick with the 100 grams for today. Experiment. I always say to people, experiment, try it somewhere around moderate and then drop it a little bit. Or if you're wanting to drop your sort of sugar intake, and your recipe, whatever, do it that way. 100 grams, I'm using brown sugar in this. And the reason I'm using brown sugar is you get this incredible colour, you get this incredible caramel flavour, and you need less because you've got, it just tastes more caramelly and gorgeous. So, the next thing is, do not add this too quick. We want to add it slowly and make sure it all is combined. So, get your whisk back on, and then just very gently tip in the sugar and really about a tablespoon at a time, and we're giving it a really good whisk. Look at the colour of that. And it stays this colour, which is really pretty, you know. Meringue is traditionally white, but it is great to add a little bit of colour and have a bit of fun. Now, while I'm whisking that, and again, we're adding it in a bit at a time, you can create whatever you want in terms of flavour from your meringue. The most important thing is you get your egg white correct, and you get it to the right consistency, and you get the sugar and you add it in gradually. Now, I'm going to add to this one a tiny bit of almond extract. You can leave it as it is, or you can add vanilla, but almond is really, really good in this. You only need a tiny bit to flavour up this amazing meringue. Right, so now I have got a lovely, glossy meringue. Okay, can you see? Lovely, glossy meringue. This is the sort of like hold you've got. To that, we are going to add a scant teaspoon of almond extract. Again, you can leave it out or you can add vanilla to your preference. Just add that in, just to give some flavour. The other 2 ingredients are important. We have got white wine vinegar and we have got corn flour. These are used again to stabilise, to sort of hold on to the structure when it's cooking so it doesn't just go flat. They're also quite useful to create that lovely marshmallowiness we all like in our meringue. So please consider that. Don't just think, well, I don't like the flavour or the taste of those 2, so I'm leaving them out. They're there for structure as opposed to anything else. So we're going for 1 teaspoon of the white wine vinegar, and we're going for 2 teaspoons of the corn flour. Don't add too much or you'll get a chalky taste. And let's just give that one final whiz with the whisker. And then that is that meringue done. Okay. What we'll do, while we're waiting for my Aquafaba to come up into this lovely white fluffy cloud, I'm going to build these and put them on the tray for you. And then I'm going to show you about our toppings. Right. Now, again, depending on what you're creating, you can do what you want with meringue. So you can create lovely little meringue kisses, which are the tiny little like canapé size, and for which you would probably use a couple of teaspoons and drop them on. You can create one big, if you're making a huge big centerpiece sort of pudding, then do like a plate, circle it round on your baking paper with like a dinner plate size, put some meringue down, and then you can create little kisses all the way around the edge. Or what I'm going to do with you today is your in between. So we're going to create individual size meringues. They cook probably easiest, if I'm honest. So they're all uniform size. They're going to cook. I'm going to rise about. They're probably for a beginner where to start, and then you can obviously do whatever you want. Right. So for this, 2 quite large spoons. I actually only use 1, but everybody says, oh, you've got to do all this fancy. But let me just show you what I mean. So if we get the baking tray, just place the meringue like that. We need to leave some space in between because they do grow. We want them to grow in height, but they will grow out a little bit. So do be generous with the space you leave. I'm probably going to do 3 or 4 with the amount of mixture I've used. So bear that in mind depending on how many people you want this to serve. Okay, that's my last one. Try to get them all even size because otherwise they're not going to cook at the same rate, are they? So, and obviously if you're serving them all together, you want them to look very pretty. Right, so when we've done that, importantly, if we're putting topping on the top as we are, we need to create a little like dent in the top. Just get the back of the spoon you've used and push down in the middle. And then when they cook, you're going to get this little dent in the middle for you to put your topping. Right, let's leave them to one side. And we're waiting for the chickpea Aquafaba. We've got 1 minute on that. Let me just go through our topping. You can do whatever fruit you want. Obviously, I'm going to say please use fruit in this recipe because fruit is brilliant for us. But we are going to do peaches today. Peaches are currently in season now. You can get them. They are packed with all your vitamins and minerals, particularly vitamin C, which is brilliant for our skin, brilliant for our immunity, brilliant for packed with antioxidants. So if you don't like peaches, please, you can substitute this for plums. You can substitute this for any fruit you like. If you're using something like strawberries and raspberries, you probably don't want to cook them down unless that's your thing. Peaches are brilliant with this. My Aquafaba is coming into the picture. Let's have a look. Voila. So where is it? From the original liquid, in 10 minutes, we have our meringue. How incredible is that? As we have it to hand, I will now whisk in my sugar. Now for this one, I'm using plain white sugar, just because I use brown in the other ones. No reason you couldn't use brown in this. Again, if you're really anti using that, you can use a stevia, but remember, it's much sweeter. So let me just quickly whiz in this. Again, incremental stages so that the sugar is completely and utterly combined. It's really, really important, otherwise you're not going to get a rise, okay? Thank you for the heart. You all know, you guys have cooked this before. Everybody really wants to rush this stage. Please don't rush it. Right. Now to this one, I'm going to add, that's it now with the sugar combined. To this one, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of arrowroot. It's exactly the same. It's doing the same thing as the corn flour, but it's better because we're using the Aquafaba in this. So it's arrowroot for this one. 1/4 to 1/2. Again, it's just going in to help stabilize. And for this one, I'm going to go with just a plain, simple vanilla essence. Quite important when we're cutting out lots of sugars on the topping that we give flavour and sweetness in both the meringue and the topping. So with the vanilla, it's going to give you that feeling of sweetness like you're having a treat. 1 teaspoon straight in. Final little whisk together. then we're going to put these onto our other baking tray. Now what I should have said to you all, this is the first time I haven't, is my oven is on at 250 degrees. So if you're cooking with me today, hopefully your ovens are on at 250. If not, pop them on now and wait for them to make temperature before putting these in. Meringues cook at a very, very, very low temperature for 1 hour, and then we leave the door shut. So we leave them ideally overnight, or at least for 8 hours, and that's how you create the perfect meringue. Let me just pop these on. And then, again, give them a nice space in between each one. And we're going to pop these both. Let me just show you. These are now both going to go into the middle tray of the oven, okay? So, they're going to go in for... They're going to go in for 1 hour. So everybody who's cooking with me now, set your timer for 1 hour. And then I'll tell you now, and I'll remind you again at the end, when you switch that oven off after an hour, do not open the door. Don't open the door from here on in, because you're going to just cause your meringues to go flat. They won't rise beautifully. When you've switched it off, it is so important you leave that door shut for a minimum of 6 hours minimum, ideally overnight or 8 hours in the day. Don't peek, okay? If you've got an oven light, you can peek with the light, but otherwise, don't peek. Take it from me, they're gonna work. Now, toppings. Peaches, dead simple. Peach slices, try to keep them about 3 or 4 millimeters thick, because we want them to keep their shape for looking pretty. Tip them into a heavy bottom saucepan, put them onto your weighing scales, and we're using a drizzle of honey. For 4 large peaches, you'd need around 50 grams, 50 mils of honey. I always say put it on your scales, because weighing out stuff that's sticky is horrible. So around 50 grams, straight in there, and then that's going to go onto a medium heat for a few minutes, okay? So medium heat. What we're wanting to do is just to soften the peaches, and then we're going to sort of stew them off, and they're going to have this wonderful sticky sauce that we're then going to pour all over the top of the meringue. Now, few of the benefits of this ingredient, of all the ingredients. First of all, your pavlova is egg whites, and egg whites are full of the protein. They're a brilliant form of protein. They, obviously, for us runners, you need to be looking after your protein allowances for muscle regenesis, muscle synthesis, muscle growth. So it's brilliant. It's also, they're very low in fat and cholesterol, because we're not using the egg yolks. So that's another tick, tick, tick. The toppings I'm going to talk about in a minute. The peaches, obviously, we've gone through the benefits. I've got another minute yet, Lainey. Lainey's telling me just to keep an eye on my peaches. I know. They're sizzling away in the background. Those of you cooking with me now, that's your honey. It's sort of starting to caramelise on the bottom. We're going to give it another minute, and then we're going to put it on low, and you can just put a little lid on it. Ta-da! You know I love Greek yogurt. It's really, really important this for 2 reasons. Number one, it's really, really thick, okay? Much thicker than normal yogurt, so it's going to hold its shape when we're putting it on top of the pavlova. Number two, it's an essential amino acid. That means it's got all 9 amino acids in the protein, which is brilliant. It's particularly if you're vegetarian and you can't obviously get your essential proteins from many places. Also, it's casein. Now, casein is like the holy grail for runners in terms of protein. The casein actually helps with building lean muscle, okay? It's quite important we have it in the evening, because it works over a longer period of time and at rest best. So if you're wanting to have this as a dessert, you can have it a little bit more guilt-free now, knowing that when you go to bed, the fabulous casein in the Greek yogurt aspect is going to look after all your lean muscle, okay? So we're getting rid of the double cream. I promise you, you won't want double cream in this. I genuinely promise you. I've trialed this recipe all week on various people. Some of them are real sugar people. They've all said Greek yogurt is the way forward. Right, I'm going to turn this down now. So turn your peaches now onto a low, and we're going to leave them on low for about 10 or 15 minutes. I've got some I've made earlier, but for those of you cooking with me, 10 or 15 minutes on low. To this, we can leave it like that, no problem. Greek yogurt's lovely. We're going to add the peaches and stuff to it. But what's quite nice is to add a little bit of fabulous flavour. This is a vanilla pod, And it is a treat. It's not the sort of thing you're going to use when you're baking with it, because you're not going to get all the benefits, but we're not cooking this. So this is going to give the most authentic and gorgeous flavour. How do we do a vanilla pod? I'm going to show you, let me bring my rather large chopping board into shot, and I'm going to just show you how you cut your vanilla pod. Get yourself a knife. This is probably, you need it to be sharp, okay, and then you want to cut down, watch your fingers, cut down the centre of the vanilla pod. Oh my God, the smell in this kitchen is amazing. Right, when we open it up in half, down the middle, those beautiful little black seeds, I'm going to scrape some out now, that is vanilla. That's how it comes. It grows on a tree, in a pod, that's vanilla, okay? They are expensive, I'm warning you. We don't need a lot. If we were being really, can you see what I'm doing now? I'm taking my knife and I'm pushing it with a little bit of force down the vanilla pod. That is half of the vanilla pod, okay? This is enough. That's going to flavour the 300 mils of Greek yogurt that we have in this recipe. Now, tip that and don't lose any, because like I say, it really is fabulous stuff into your Greek yogurt, and give it a good stir in, okay? The other beauty about using it is it's lovely little black seeds. They're like little black tiny jewels that obviously look great as a contrast against that lovely vanilla-y Greek yogurt. Now, to this, we're doing a couple of things. Let me show you my meringues I made yesterday. Now, you know me, I always say cooking is not a perfect science. You're always going to, every time you make a recipe, thank you for the hearts, every time you make a recipe, you're going to have a different result at the end of it. That's lovely, I love that. Occasionally you're going to have misdemeanors, sort of tiny little things that don't go quite the way you want. So, let me show you something. First of all, here are the egg meringues I made yesterday. So, as you can see, that's the brown sugar, so you get this lovely sort of caramel colour, okay? And we're going to just use one of these now. So I made 3 really big ones, okay? Then, I haven't made it for a very, very, very long time, the Aquafaba. And I'm going to admit, I didn't space them enough. So I had a little bit of a problem. They've risen beautifully, they really have risen beautifully, but they join together, okay? So, top tip, if you're doing the Aquafaba version, give them a load of space in between each one. That's really going to be helpful. Or make the large one, then it doesn't matter if they all come together because they're all together anyway. Or do eat a mess, which is what I'm going to do with you with this one in a second. Right, first of all, let's build my normal meringue. So for this one, get yourself your serving plate. The other thing to say, put your toppings on just before you serve. First of all, if you've got a brilliant meringue, the weight of toppings can actually break it. So obviously the longer you leave it, the more chance that is of happening. And secondly, you don't want the meringue to go soggy. So it is one to build just before you serve. Pop your meringue on your plate. A nice generous amount of the Greek yogurt. Okay, in that central dip that we did with the back of the spoon when we pushed it down, that now is your little bowl to hold all your ingredients. Look at these. This is what happens to your peaches. How pretty is that? How beautiful is that? They're great actually. If you do a whole big batch of these and you do it just as I said, just a drizzle of honey, all that juice at the bottom is from the peaches. You can have these with your yogurt in the morning, you know, or throw them into your smoothie. They're really, really, really good. So I do suggest, especially if you can get big peaches cheaper, do that, make a big batch, keep them in a bowl covered for at least a week, and enjoy these at breakfast and on snacks and stuff. Right, then decorate beautifully. Put as many or as few as you want on top. And then my final pièce de résistance is the humble pistachio. You know I love nuts. Nuts should be in everybody's life. I know they get a bad press because they've got fats in, but the fats in nuts are unsaturated fats which are full of your essential fatty acids like omega-3s. They're really, really important for our immunity And if we're recovering from illness, yeah, or we're recovering from a sprain, we need all of these essential fatty acids. Thank you for the hearts. So, obviously in moderation, don't eat that many in one sitting anyway. I might over a whole day. And then they look so gorgeous on this. And just sprinkle, again, a generous amount. Let them go all over the plate, okay? That is my Greek pavlova. Okay, and obviously, as I said before, you can make a large one and create, obviously, just use more of everything in the middle. This as a summer evening pudding, this as an afternoon treat after you've done your run, because remember how high it is in protein. We've got the protein in the egg whites in the meringue, we've got the protein in the yogurt, and we've got the protein in the nuts. We've got all the benefits of the fruit, and we've mainly used honey, tiny bit of honey, which is full of antioxidants as well, so it's really looking after our insides. The other benefit of Greek yogurt, before I forget, is your gut microbiome. So I know it's really popular at the moment, so we really want really strong, robust gut microbiome. It just looks after us from the inside out. Live yogurt is the way to get it. You can get these little powdered probiotics, but I've got to be honest with you, live yogurt is so packed with every benefit you can imagine on the planet. Just add it to your diet. Add it in smoothies, have it in the morning, have it with the peaches on their own, or have it in your pudding rather than cream. Now, very briefly, before I let you all get on with this fabulous day, eat a mess. Right, okay. So if you do have a faux pas, and it happens with your meringue, and it's not perfect, and you think, oh, they're not risen to with this fabulousness, don't worry. We're just gonna smash it up. Like that, okay? So satisfying to do that. Get a portion of it and just drop it into a nice big bowl. Okay? We're gonna save some. Okay, so break some up, pop it into reasonable sized chunks. Don't go and make it into like powder. We don't want that. Add your Greek yogurt. Okay, whack it all in. This can also be frozen, okay? So if you want a frozen eater mess, once you've done this, and again, do this just before you serve it. Don't add all these ingredients together, then put them in the fridge, because they will start to kind of combine and everything get a bit soggy. You want it all crispy and then the lovely texture contrast with the smooth texture of the yogurt. So that's quite important. Now, to that, before we mix it, because we're only going to give it a scant mix to keep those meringue pieces nice, handful of those gorgeous pistachios. And where's my lovely peaches gone? Here they are. Let's pop in, we're going to keep a couple from top maybe. Let's pop in a bit, half of the peaches. Give them a little stir. Nothing too much, please, because otherwise all the colours will run. Like that. Now, get yourself, if you have it, quite a fancy, you can use wine glasses if you want, or I don't know if you've got little glass bowls or anything, and just pop the Eat and Mess straight into your dishes. And they're so lovely to serve these all through spring and summer. And you know they're much lighter in calories and full of all the benefits we've talked about. On the top, grab a few more of those broken bits of meringue, decorate like so. And then, of course, you know I like everything to look fabulous. How about we go with one of the peaches just on top so people know what flavour you've gone for. And of course, a lovely little sprinkle of pistachio. Nobody is going to not enjoy that if you offer that for their pudding. I think my work here is done. That's Pavlova 2 ways for you. Do try the Aquafaba, because actually I was a bit anxious with it. Particularly if you like a more honeycomb version of a meringue rather than the chewy soft one, the Aquafaba gives you really, really good results. Have a go, let me know. Of course, use all the flavours in the world, go for any fruit you want, anything imaginable, be creative. If you don't like pistachios, then of course you can choose pecans, walnuts, cashews, almonds, whatever nuts you want. Thank you for all the hearts that are coming in. It's a light snack, treat, / pudding. We all have them in our lives. This is the one to go to. What I don't want you to do is go back to the double cream. You don't need it. No sugar on the toppings. You can use a little bit of honey, but rely on that fruit. Enjoy it, okay? Lovely to see you all. I don't know what I'm doing next week. I'll surprise you all, or maybe we'll do a poll. I don't know. Something will be coming into my mind fabulous that I do with the athletes this week, and I'll share it all with you next Saturday. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Enjoy this fabulous weather while it lasts. Take care. Thank you for all the hearts and the waves. Thank you so much. You're all in here now. Stephen, Zaz, Helen. So lovely that you've all come in, and I really hope you're going to try this one. You and all your family will love it. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.